Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the channel. So, today I want to talk about reverb and mverb a little bit. I just wanted to show you some different sounds here that I have, some different instruments here that I have on this loop, how they all sound with reverb and mverb, what's the difference, what is reverb, talk about some of the dials and plug and some of the effects you can do to your reverb and what they mean. And so we're just going to kind of dive into it a little bit. So I have a loop here with like some vocals, clap, hi-hat, piano, another vocal, snare, and let's start with the clap, and we will so here's the clap. So that's a dry clap with no effects, and we'll get into wet and dry in a second. So if you want to get to your reverb, you just click on the instrument, go to the effects folder, and then just scroll down till you get to reverb. And you can see the two of the dials here are wet and dry, and you'll see this on a lot of these plugins, and I'll explain what they mean. And if you ever messed around with the dials and you want to reset it, you can just always go to preset and just hit reset. It's just a quick little fact right there. But anyways, so here's the reverb. Let's hear the clap with the reverb. So now what is reverb? Reverb is basically like, it's an echo. This is obviously a simulated echo. I kind of like imagine like if you're in a tunnel and you yell and you can still hear your yell after you stop yelling. So that's kind of what I equate reverb to. Let's read the Bandpass definition. So the reverb filter imitates a real environment where sound remains present after the original source of the sound has stopped. This is caused by the reflection of sound waves before they dissipate through the absorption of a surface. There are many factors that affect reverberation, and this filter lets you play with a few of them. So yeah, it's like the reflection of sound before it's absorbed into a surface. That's why I use that tunnel analogy. And this kind of like lets you create your own tunnel, basically. Like if you can, or your own room or whatever. How big do you want that room to be? How much do you want those walls to absorb that echo? Do you want a lot of absorption, a little bit? So that's what all these mean. So let's talk about room size. Room size, pretty self-explanatory. It's like how big do you want your room to be, or your tunnel, or whatever. When I turn the room size down, you can tell that the echo is much shorter, more compressed. So that's what room size means. How big do you want the room to be? Damping is the absorption of high frequencies in reverb. So high damping would produce more like absorption, and then low damping yields less high frequencies, so less absorption. So it's like how thick do you want those walls? How much do you want those walls to absorb that echo? Do you want a lot of absorption or just a little bit? So that's what damping is. It's a little hard to explain, but that's basically what it means. Now wet is basically with effects. It just means with effects. Now if you increase the wetness, it's going to have more reverb on it. It's going to use this effect more onto your sound. If you decrease it, it's going to be closer to dry, obviously, which means no effects. So dry means no effects, just the original sound. So this would be a dry clap right here. Now it's wet, and how wet do you want it to be? So that's what wet means, that's what dry means. And then width is self-explanatory as well. It's just how wide do you want the reverb to be, how wide do you want that sound to be. So those are the basics of reverb and what it means. Now, I use mverb a lot more than I use reverb, and I think mverb is only exclusive to Bandpass. I'm not positive about that. But I like mverb because it's more dramatic, more rich, and it automatically blends with my music, I think, more than reverb does, where I have to adjust the reverb more than I would the mverb. I mean, the mverb just kind of is like ready to go. So, and with mverb, there's a lot more dials, so you can really get it how you want to. And it's basically the same thing as reverb, but just like more dials, so you get more detail, you get closer to the sound that you want, and also it's more rich in sound. So let's just read what they say MVERB is. So produces a nice rich reverb effect with many adjustable aspects to get that one sound you're looking for, basically. So let's hear the clap with MVERB. Let's make sure I have my reverb off. Yep. Okay, so a lot similar to reverb, but you can tell it's more rich, more dramatic, kind of more smoother. It's hard to explain. So I like MVERB. I use MVERB on a lot of different stuff. So we talked about damping. Let's talk about density. So density refers to the thickness of the reverb sound. The denser the reverb, the smoother its tail off. Due to the thickness of the echoes, the lower the density, the grainier and more diffuse it will sound due to the thinness of the echoes. So that's what density is. You know, how dense do you want those echoes? How thin do you want them? Bandwidth is the difference between upper and lower frequencies. So it's that in between, and you can increase that difference or decrease it. So it's the difference between upper and lower frequencies. So that's what bandwidth is. The decay is like how much do you want it to kind of like just diffuse into nothing. How much do you want it to trail off? Let's play this real quick. So you can see when I turned the decay all the way up, it like really kind of, it was much longer and it kind of just decayed and it was a lot longer. I talked about decay. You can use decay on there's a lot of different plugins that have this, you know, this dial on them. I talked about 808s in a video a few weeks ago where I turned the decay all the way down to make my 808s shorter so they didn't mess with my kicks and stuff like that. Now turning your decay down for 808s is good, but decay isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're using like an MVERB. So that's just what it means. It's like just be aware that it's going to be a much longer sound when you put the decay all the way up. Now pre-delay is it inserts an amount of time between the sound of the original signal and reverb. So it separates the dry sound from the reverb. So you see when I turn the pre-delay up, you can hear that dry clap in the beginning, and then there's almost like a gap before you hear the reverb again. It's like a space in between. So how big do you want that space to be? That's what pre-delay is. When I turn it down, it's much much less noticeable. It's more blended. So that's what pre-delay means. Size is just like self-explanatory. The size of the reverb, the size of the sound. Yeah, it's like the size of the reverb. The gain is how much it gains in sound. Now the mix is how much do you want this MVERB to start processing? How much do you want to mix? How much do you want the MVERB to mix with your sound? Now an early mix would be how early do you want to start mixing? So it's just it's the same as mixing, but do you want the MVERB to start hitting right away in the sound, or do you want it to hit a little later into the sound? So that's what early mix means. And wet, we already talked about wet. Wet just means with effects. So that's MVERB for you. I like MVERB. I think it's pretty cool. I know, not the most exciting stuff right now. And then there's one more thing called ambience, which I'll just talk about just real quick, and then I'll play some vocals with MVERB on them. So ambience is like it's like kind of a mix between reverb and delay. So it creates a sound somewhere between a delay and a reverb. And delay is like an echo, basically, like when you say hey, 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 hey. You know, you hear it a lot. You hear it in a lot of music. A lot of DJs use delay and stuff like that. So it comes high frequency damping and can be used to give an eccentric fullness to vocals. So you can use it on vocals and a lot of other stuff. So let's just hear the clap with ambience. So it doesn't sound great on a clap, but that's what ambience is. It's a mix between reverb and delay, if you ever want to use that. Next, so here I have like a female just kind of humming, singing. Let's hear that with mverb and reverb. So here it is dry. So that's what one type of vocal would sound like with mverb on it. And let's hear it with reverb. So it's really similar. It might be kind of hard to notice the difference, but to me, mverb is like more dramatic. It's more smooth. It's more ready to go. It fits into my mix a little better than reverb, where I have to adjust it more. It's either like too loud with reverb, or it's too wet, or whatever. So, but you know, basically not a big difference. But that's what that would sound like with those two things on it. So, yeah, I didn't expect a freaking reverb video to take so long. So you guys have any questions about reverb or mverb, let me know in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button for me, and I'll have some more stuff coming soon. Peace out.